Hey guys, tonight I'm excited because my wife's going to show you how to make one of our favorite Chinese fish dishes, Chinese orange drum, which can be made with either black drum or with redfish, and our family really likes it. But I want to remind everybody to pray for a wife if you don't have a wife yet. If you're out there single, who cooks your fish? So pray for a wife who's not ashamed to carry a Bible, not ashamed to cook your fish, and not ashamed to be seen with you.
Hey y'all, well, like he said, we're going to make Chinese orange drum. And this is going to end up being little chunks of crispy drum and in a spicy orange sauce. So we have three groups of ingredients here. We have the main ingredients, which I'm going to serve it over brown rice, but white rice is fine. Sweet pepper, carrots, oranges, and our fish. The oranges, these happen to be tangerines because that's what I have. If you have satsuma, if you have navel oranges, I don't think that is important which kind of oranges you have. Here we have some, this was bull drum that was cleaned in a manner so that it's in these rectangular chunks that are very good for using in kebabs or in this dish. And so if you haven't seen any of our cleaning videos, you could get some suggestions about how to prepare it. We have ingredients for the sauce and the marinade here in the center. And then what's going to happen to the chunks is they'll get dipped in an egg wash, cornstarch, and then fried in oil. This is not the fastest dish, and it has more ingredients than I usually share with you before, but we do like the flavor, and I make it once in a while. So here's a list of ingredients for you. And you can freeze the frame if you need a longer look. I just wanted you to be able to see that list. Now I already started our brown rice cooking because brown rice takes a lot longer than white rice. And I'll be back shortly with things a little bit more prepared. Okay, I'm back after a few minutes of prepping for this Chinese orange drum, and let's see what's changed on the table. So if we start up in the upper right corner here, I have cut the green pepper into small thin strips, and I've peeled and cut the carrots on the bias so you get this nice shape. That's not important for the cooking, it just looks nice, it makes it attractive. I have the orange zest and juice in this bowl. I find it easier to take the zest off with the tiny side of a cheese grater and then juice with a little hand juicer the orange. I have diced the garlic, or not diced, I've cut it into really tiny pieces. And we have the sugar here. I have prepared the chicken broth, which you can use canned chicken broth or homemade chicken broth. And what we're going to do now is assemble what's going to be both the marinade and the sauce. So first we'll put in the garlic. And then we'll put in this sugar and apple cider vinegar. The list of ingredients was shown near the beginning of this video, so I'm not going over them or the measurements precisely at this point. I'm going to put in these red pepper flakes. I just happen to have one of these little packets left over from some fast food, I guess. And we need approximately a quarter cup of soy sauce. So I'm just going to measure that in here. Okay, watching the demarcations on my 2-cup measure here. And now we need to put in a couple of the spices still. We just need a quarter cup, not a quarter cup, please, a quarter teaspoon of ginger. And I was going to tell you that unlike garlic, doubling the amount of ginger does not make the dish twice as good. So I recommend sticking with the quarter teaspoon of dry ginger, or that would be equivalent to about a teaspoon of fresh ginger if that's your preference and you happen to have some. I'm not selling or promoting any particular ingredients here. Putting in also a quarter teaspoon of black pepper. What I'm trying to sell you on is that fish is good, and that goldfish is good, and that if you ask the Lord who made the fish for some, He is generous and shares with us. Good food for which we can be grateful. Okay, so one thing this sauce doesn't have in it yet is a thickener. And in that list of ingredients, we talked about the cornstarch that is going to be used to coat the chunks of fish, but we're also going to put a little bit in the sauce when it's time to thicken it. But at the moment, I'm going to take some of this before putting cornstarch in and put it on the fish, which I have cubed, and that's going to serve as a marinade for the fish prior even to dipping it in the eggs. Now I'm not going to put this whisk back in the marinade now that we're touching the raw fish with it. So I'm going to let this fish sit in the marinade. You could let it sit for 15 to 30 minutes. You could put it back in the refrigerator if you wanted to. And then we'll drain that marinade off and not keep this. Okay, we're going to keep the one in the measuring cup. We are not going to keep the marinade that has been in contact with the raw fish for the rest of the meal. And I'll be back in a little bit with the next steps. Okay, now we're ready to start cooking. I'm going to cook the vegetables and the fish in the same pan, but not at the same time. So I've coated this pan with some cooking oil. That might be more than I need, but we'll see. And I'm gonna just, I got it nice and hot. I'm gonna put the vegetables in there. This is not authentic stir frying like in a wok, but it's not bad for an American imitation. So if you're cooking with the pan on high heat, you do want to keep the vegetables moving. That helps them cook without burning until they are crisp tender. The sizzle is good. You've got a good temperature. I'm going to keep working on this, and I'll invite you back when there's something interesting to see. Okay, we're back and the vegetables are done cooking, and you might be able to tell as they're in the bowl in the rear that they are crisp tender with some brown edges. And what we're going to do now is prepare the fish cubes. I added a little bit more oil to the pan. It's on a medium-high heat, not as hot as it was before. And so what I'm doing now is dredging each one, first in egg and then in cornstarch, which is very messy, so don't wear your good clothes. But the good news is it comes off easily. And we'll just put that in there. If you're trying to do, paleo or some kind of special diet where the fish is okay but the cornstarch isn't, there are alternatives you can use to coat the fish that will be consistent with that diet. One of the reasons this dish at least takes me more time than some other dishes is that I do this in batches. You don't want to dump, especially if you're cooking for a family, you don't want to dump all the fish in at once. It makes the pan cold. It won't crisp up nice. So as the fish browns in the pan, I will be turning it with the tongs until it's just a nice light brown on all sides. Shaking off a little bit of the extra cornstarch. The cornstarch that is left in the pan ends up helping to thicken the sauce anyway, so that's okay. All right, before I go too much further, let me check the ones that we put in first. And then you don't have to see every step of this. I just kind of want you to see what's going on. See how nice and crispy that is? I mean, this is fried. I don't fry fish too often, but I gotta admit this is fried. Oh, that was the later one. So that's the gist. I'm gonna keep cooking these, and when they're done, I'm gonna lift them out and put them onto the plate that has been lined with, in this case, napkins or paper towels to drain the excess oil off as I keep cooking the rest of the fish in batches like this. Okay, the fish is done cooking. Maybe you can see the nuggets here on the upper left. And the pan still looks dirty, but what that is the leftover oil and the cornstarch, which I'm hoping will be enough to thicken our broth. So this is the remainder of the broth. Even though this is really sizzling, I turned the heat down to a medium-low. The sauce really doesn't need and shouldn't have a high heat to thicken. Now, as I watch this heat up and begin to simmer, if it's not thick enough, I will add a slurry of maybe 1 tablespoon of cornstarch mixed with 1 tablespoon of cold water. So we'll see how this goes. I think I will do that. So I'll be right back. Okay, so in my same measuring cup I have about a tablespoon of cold water and a tablespoon of cornstarch. The reason we don't add the cornstarch powder directly to the hot sauce is that it will clump and you'll get these weird little balls of cornstarch and it won't make your sauce smooth and thick, which is what we want. Or thicker. You know, we're not looking for jelly here, but I don't know if you can tell that that texture is very quickly thickening up, and what was opaque, like you couldn't see through it, turns translucent as it cooks, and so you end up with an attractive looking sauce. Okay, and what I'm going to do prior to serving it, I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat off. I'm going to add the vegetables back in. And I'll add in the fish so that it's all warm and coated. I will not put in the napkins, right? There we go. Okay. And I'm not trying to cook these anymore. I'm just trying to coat them with the sauce and put them together in a nice way until we put them in our serving bowl. Near the beginning of the video, I had told you that I had already cooked our brown rice, and so I have some brown rice here that I'm going to serve with it. Maybe people would prefer white rice, that's fine. It's my token to healthy cooking in this meal. I hope you are willing to try this sometime and enjoy it. It's great for the really firm fish, you know, your bull black drum, your bull redfish, even gator if you happen to get some. I know gator's not a fish, but still. Enjoy and thank the Lord for his goodness to us.